Hello, welcome back. In this project coming up, I'm going to show you how to make your own custom brushes and save those brushes as well. So first thing we're going to do is create a new file. And this one's going to be 800 pixels by 620. And if you need to click on advanced options, make sure your resolution's 300 ppi there. Mine's already set up to 300. Okay, so 800 by 620 at 300 ppi. Click OK. All right, and then we're going to turn on our layers window here. And we're going to create 6 different layers here. So I'm going to hold shift down and click on the create new layer tab. We need just 6 layers besides our background. Looks like we've got it there. Excuse me. We need 6 layers besides our background. It looks like we have them here now. So on layer 5 now, I'm going to build a new brush. So basically, if you go up top here, you can click on, well, let's start with the brush editor, right? The brush editor is what you'll see when you create a new brush, and you'll have the option of a sphere, a square, or a pyramid. So if we go to our brush window right here to show our brushes here, this is where you can click. There's a document on the bottom of the brush window, just like creating a new layer. We're going to click create a new brush. So we click there, and again, you'll see these shapes here. I'm going to start with a circle there, and let's bring this up to maximum hardness, and we're just going to create a new brush here. Oops, what's going on there? Let's go up here. Let's start with that, and we're going to click again, new brush, create a new brush. We're going to start with a circle, and let's click on the editing here. Let's see, tool options here. And there we go. Not sure what's happening there. We're on this layer, that's good. We need to select the brush, that would help. There we go. So now let's take a look and see what we've got here. We've got, we can select a type of brush. And notice there, wow, I've got something going on there. So let's go over to our tool options, and it looks like we have jitter going. Okay, that's what's happening. So if you look at all these things kind of happening almost randomly, that's because my jitter is up under dynamics. So again, dynamics is right here. If I bring the jitter down, it's going to be much less. And notice there I'm getting closer to a straight line again. So I can turn off jitter altogether if I don't want it. And notice there I'm coming back to that. Let's see what else is going on there. Under dynamics options, we've got some kind of fading going on, fade length. We have a gradient or something happening there too. I don't know how to, if we don't want that, how do we get rid of that? I'm not sure. Let's take a look here though. And we'll go into our brush settings here. There we go. So we got rid of the gradient. You can mess with the angle. You can change the angle. That's kind of interesting too. And notice there, we've reversed the angle. I kind of liked it back a little ways this way. That makes for an interesting line. And then we could maybe even make these things overlap here a little bit. That's kind of cool. And let's try going back to these. Let's try a little bit of jitter, see what happens. That's kind of interesting. Again, if you increase the jitter, it's going to be all over the place. I don't want that much of it. We could go back to even doing a gradient if we want. And let's see if we can edit that. Custom there. Oh, okay, and I guess that's how you do it with the fade length. There we go. So with the gradient, you just change the fade length. Oh, that's kind of neat. I like that. So I'm going to keep that one. Let's go ahead and hold down Shift. Well, here, let's click once and then hold down Shift and then create a line there, and we'll call that eggs on the run, for lack of a better word. So before we do save this out, though, we want to go ahead and let's turn on our layer, go back to our layers. Let's turn everything off except for that stroke, right? So let's get rid of that again. Let's grab the eraser. And let's just do a couple of these. Okay, so now I'll grab my brush again. And let's just do Shift, click there once, and maybe to about here. That'll be our brush, right? We'll call this running eggs, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make this a brush. So once I do that, make sure all the other layers are turned off. We're going to go File, Export. We'll call this running eggs. And we're not going to save it as a PNG. We're going to save it actually as, we're going to select by file type down below, and we're going to save it as a GIMP brush. A GIMP brush, a GBR is what you want to save it as, a .gbr. And here's how you find the brush window, or the brush folder. You click on the name of your computer, so you go to C if you need to. Click on Users. Find what you named your computer. Mine's called Mando, so I'm going to click that. The next window, or the next folder you're looking for, is one called App Data, right here. If App Data doesn't show up, for example, let's say it's gone, here's how you turn it on. You just click Control plus H, and that'll reveal your hidden folders. Control plus H, click App Data, Roaming, and we're going to find GIMP. Click on the folder that has the version number, and then find the brushes folder. And once you're in there and you've named your brush and you've called it a GBR file, click Export. Running eggs, spacing says 10. Let's change the spacing to 1 and see what happens. Click Export. We should be done there. So now we should be able to go into this window, the brushes themselves, the different types, and click Refresh. And there you should see your brush in there. It's called Running Eggs, and it's right there. So if I click on that and start moving my brush, notice there, I've got a custom brush now. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. So now we're going to go back to our layers window and turn the background back on along with our brush here. And we're going to make this a little bit smaller, of course. Okay, and we can also do that under our brush settings here, or our tool options here. And there's our brush there, and we're just bringing it down here. And you can also change the spacing too if you want before you do your final stroke. So right there, I'm going to bump this up a little bit. And I'm going to just go ahead and click once there, hold down Shift, and click all the way across, and you can see that's my running eggs, for lack of a better name there. So I'll call this running eggs. Okay, and now I can go to the next layer here. I can turn this one off, or I can leave it on. And we're going to make a new brush here. Before I do anything, though, let's erase that, whatever it is I put up in here. I'm going to erase that. Okay, and the next layer here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go up to, let's see, right here, brushes window, and we're going to click create a new brush tab again. This time let's use the square, and we're going to come out here onto the canvas and click along here and see what we get. Probably help if I clicked my brush too. There we go. Okay. And let's see, we got black there. We should be good. And let's turn off our gradient there, or no jitter as well. Notice there it's not doing anything. Let me hit enter here. Okay, brush is on. Let's turn off any dynamics that are coming up. I'm not sure why it's not doing anything there, so let's try it again. Let's make sure we're on the correct layer. Yes, we are. That's good. I'm going to shut that one off. Turn this one on. There we go. I just wasn't seeing it. It was on. That looks actually really cool like it is. But if you want to change things up, again, you can go to tool options. You know, you can mess with your spacing. I really like that. You can, again, of course, deal with your dynamics there. Changing the fade length will make the line look different there too. Notice there. That one's completely different than the first one. So we can call that three-tone ribbon or something like that. So I like that. So let's go ahead and I didn't have to change much on that one. Let's call this one, oh, what was it? We'll just call it ribbon, three-tone ribbon. So whatever you want to call them is fine. And then since you have this one up there, let's click it about right there. Maybe about there, you know, you go across, do a stroke, or you can just click once if you want. I like the idea of doing a short, kind of like that. Or to capture it all, you know, you do this, hold shift down, and there you get your three tones, you know, something like that. Go a little longer, maybe right there. So now we'll turn this off, turn off the background, and let's erase this so we don't get that extra mark in there. We'll call that three-tone ribbon right there, okay? So File, again, Export or Export As. I notice here my brushes window will come up here in this left-hand side once I've shown GIMP the path here that I want. So all I have to do is click on brushes and they'll all save in here. And we're going to call this, again, three-tone ribbon. Okay, and a GBR is what we want. So it's already set up and it's already going to brushes. Click Export. And export again. Again, you can go into your brush window here. Click the refresh button. And there's running eggs and running eggs again. So I must have accidentally named this one running eggs. Let's see if I can edit that brush and rename it. Let's do export as three-tone ribbon. Export. It's going to ask me if I want to replace it. Say yes. And then instead of running eggs here, just make sure you rename it again. That's where I messed up. Three-tone ribbon. Click export. Now it should be in there named three-tone ribbon. Click refresh. There's running eggs and there's three-tone ribbon. Okay, so they're already in there, you can see. Now if I turn on the background and I do a stroke, make sure again your brush is selected. That's what it looks like. Okay, so it doesn't quite come out the way you expect it to, but you can change the angle on that and adjust it any way you want. But that's 3-tone ribbon. Okay, we're just going to erase it here. And we're going to just draw a stroke going across here. Let's bring the size down, of course. Let's go to settings here. Oops. Size is going to be way too big. There we go. That looks good. And we're just going to go ahead and click once here. Hold down Shift. Go all the way across. And there's our 3-tone ribbon. Okay, so we've got 2 of them so far. Now we're just go on and do a third. So we're going to click those off, turn this eyeball on, go to our brushes window. Whoops, close that. Go here. And now again, we're going to create a new brush again. So create new brush. This time we're going to select the pyramid. Okay, and now we'll go to our layers window. And that's what we have so far. So again, we're going to use the pyramid. Let's go up. Okay, and we've already got that going. So let's go ahead and try something different here. Let's start with our angle. So that's a different angle. That's good. Spacing here. Okay, and let's change the fade length. Let's bring that down. And we're getting somewhere there. Let's do repeat. Let's try sawtooth wave and see what happens. That's a little different. I like that. That's interesting. I really like that. Let's see what happens when we increase the spacing. Oh, that's neat. Again, dynamic options. You could try different. Let's try incremental. We can apply some jitter if you want. Kind of like that. Call that sea of diamonds, maybe. That's interesting. Okay, so that looks pretty cool. So let's go back over to on this dynamics option here. Let's see here. Let's bring the fade length down here a little bit. I like that. That's cool. We'll call it Sea of Diamonds or River of Diamonds. You could switch on basic dynamics and see how that changes. That changed it a little bit. Or we could do confetti. What does that do? Well, that's interesting. I chose confetti there, and look at that. I like that. Wow, that's neat. We call that confetti shards, shards of memory, something like that. So let's do that. Let's go on to our layers again, and this will be number 3. We'll call this shards of confetti. And again, we'll do a stroke here going across. Something like that. So we're going to go back to our layers again, turn this off, turn the background off, and we'll call that file export as shards of confetti. And notice here, now it's set up. Once I directed GIMP to the path where my brushes are, now it's remembering it. So we're just going to save that in there. Spacing 1, we'll keep it that way. Oh, let's go back to 10 like we had it. The default was 10. Let's see how that changes things up there. Okay, then we'll go back to our brushes. And let's see, 3-tone ribbon, running eggs. I don't see shards of confetti yet. Oh, I did the same thing. Damn it. Okay. I forgot to name it twice. So it's one of these over here. Okay, let's try that again. So it's probably going to be this one right here. Or this one right here, 3-tone ribbon. Wow, it's chaotic there. So let's keep moving here. Now again, I can do that. I can go back and edit that brush too. So again, simply if I just want to work on that brush, I can go here, click on editing, and there it is. See if you notice there. Now I can just re-export it. File, export as. We'll call it shards of confetti again. Click export, click replace, and then again, I'll just change it right here. You got to name it twice. That's the thing I always forget about in GIMP. Shards of confetti, and this time we'll change the spacing down to 1. Click export. Okay, now if we go back to our layers, go onto that layer. Notice there we've got some random marks there, and that's the shards of confetti. Bizarre, huh? Okay, so on this one, shards of confetti, and we're going to make it smaller, of course. Okay, I'll bring it up a little bit. Something like that. And then we can also bring down the jitter a little bit too if it's too much. There we go. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, bring down some of the jitter. And something like that, where it's just kind of like something we use to pepper the surface there. That looks pretty good right there. Bring it up a little bit. Let's go to the layers window, and then we'll put it right here. And you can see there, spaced out weird. It's a very strange brush. And so again, we can go in here. Oops, sorry. Go here, and we can change some things about it. That might look a little more cohesive there as we do our line. Something like that. We'll call that shards of confetti, or we already did call it that. So that's number 3. Now I would say for the other 3, maybe just repeat the process. So we can go down here now to the next one. Turn off these. And on this one, we'll create a new brush again. Oops. Let's go to our brush window. And we're going to create a new brush again. This time we're going to select the sphere again. And we have this so far, which is still kind of interesting, but we want to make it different than the last brushes that we've been doing. So let's bump this up a little bit, see what we have so far. So we have more of that random. And I like that, but I want to change things up. So instead of confetti, let's do fade tapering. That's cool. That's way different. I love that. Fade tapering here, we can, let's close that. I love that. Let's play around with that. And then, let's see, we want to go to get our tool options back here. I think I closed it. So if you accidentally close your window, let's go to Toolbox or Dockable Dialogues and turn on Tool Options. There we go. So if we increase spacing, wow, that's a neat stroke right there. I love that. I'd probably call that tadpole. That looks kind of interesting. So I'm going to keep that one. And again, on this layer, we're just going to, there's the last one. We're just going to click there and do a stroke there. Just like that. I love that. And we're going to call this tadpole. And we're going to turn this one off here, and let's make sure we erase any extra marks there that we don't want. And that's going to be our tadpole. So we're going to go ahead and click File, Export As. Again, we're going to call this tadpole. GBR, and it's going into our brushes. So that's what we want. It asks us again, what do we want to call it? I already said tadpole. Okay. Spacing 1, that's fine. We'll try that. Click Export. And let's take a look here, and we'll do a stroke here. Oh, because I don't have the... Here, let's erase this now that we've made the brush. Let's see what it looks like the way it's set right now. Notice there it's not giving me anything. Well, that's kind of interesting. There it is. Okay, so we click here once. And then we go across. There we go. So that's tadpole. I like that. So we'll call that tadpole. So we have 2 more now that we need to create. So again, with this next one, we're going to use the square for the second time. Okay, and then let's put our tool options up. And this is what we have so far. Let me blow this up. Wow, that's neat, huh? But we want to change that up a little bit. So again, if we're going to do any dynamics, I don't so much need a gradient. Let's turn off jitter and see what we get. Okay. Get rid of those. Let's do smooth stroke and see what happens. And wait. Not much. Okay, so let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of fade tapering. Let's try something else. Let's try dynamics random. Well, that's cool. I like that. Again, that kind of gives us that confetti look. And let's see what else we can dial up here. Let's click on dynamic options. Let's take fade length down a little bit. That's really neat. Bring smooth stroke down. Oh, I like that. And again, we can play with aspect ratio. That's a unique line right there, right? Call that pins and needles. I like that. All right, so again, let's save that one. We'll call that pins and needles. So again, just a stroke or 2 would probably do the trick. Maybe about there. We'll call this pins and needles. And again, turn off everything except for the brush area you want to save. And we'll call that pins and needles. Again, file, export as. Pins and needles. Click export. And again, you got to name it again. Don't forget. Click export. Okay, and then we'll do a stroke across on this one. Again, let's erase this. Come on. Those settings are kind of global now, so the eraser's slow. There we go. Now let's go ahead and do that stroke. Again, the last one's right there, so we're going to put this one right here. Hold shift down, go across, and there are your pins and needles. Okay, we have one more to do here, and this will be our last one. So we're going to turn on this layer, and we're going to, once again, create a new brush. And we're going to use the diamond one more time. Okay, and let's go to brush settings. And again, let's turn off dynamic options. Let's turn off incremental. Let's turn off smooth stroke. And we'll just leave dynamics as basic, simple, or basic dynamics. Okay. Let's bring the size up on this thing a little bit. And let's shoot for changing a few things. The aspect ratio for one, the angle for another. Let's do that. Bring it over this way. And let's see here. Let's bring up the size. Let's bring down the aspect ratio. There we go. Now that's something a little different. I like the size variance there. That's interesting. Let's take a look at our tool settings here. So I guess that's what we're doing. Let's bring down the hardness. I like that. Or keep the hardness, but bring down the force. That's kind of interesting. And let's see what else we have going on here under dynamic options. Let's see what happens if we bring the fade length down. Interesting. If we bring the fade length up, doesn't look like we have much going on in terms of dynamics there. Let's bring back the force. And it looks like we have a gradient going on there. I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of that gradient altogether. Let's go back to the tool settings. Blend color space. Again, I really don't want a gradient here. Isn't there a none somewhere? Okay. Let's see here. Spacing, hardness, force are all the way up, so this has to be something to do with the dynamics here. Turn all those off. Again, I don't want a gradient if I can help it. It's just making it worse. Basic dynamics, basic simple. There we go. Notice there I've got some kind of strange rotation going on there, and I kind of like it. Man, let's see what's causing that. I don't know. Blend color space, perceptual RGB. And let's see here. Oh, sawtooth wave might be the problem here. Let's click none and see what happens. No, it's still doing it. I like that, how it rotates. I'm not sure how I created it, though. That's the funny part. It's called fade tapering, but that's not doing much. So it must have been that here, what I selected here when I did dynamics. Let's try pencil generic. That's kind of interesting. Oh, it rotates. That's kind of neat. Okay, so let's see. We can do linear RGB. Again, the fact that it's tilting like a pen is really cool. So let's see if we had sawtooth fade length, smooth stroke. Okay, pencil generic, pressure opacity. No, that's not doing anything. Let's see here. How did I get to that? Oh, dynamics. Pressure size, velocity tapering. That would be more for a pen. Okay, spacing. Let's bring the spacing back together. There we go. Angle, maybe a different angle. I like that. It's kind of a neat line. And again, let's apply a little bit of dynamics here one more time. Give it a little fade length. I like that. Okay, let's increase that and see what we get. It's kind of interesting. I guess we've already been doing a lot of that though, so we can turn that down. And let's do let's try. What's incremental? No, that's not going to do much for us. Let's try fade tapering. It's kind of interesting. And let's try a little bit of jitter. I like that. Call that blocky. Okay, so let's go back to our layers window. And again, the last one's here. So we're just going to bring this down a little bit. Call that blocky. Okay. So again, turn everything else except for the layer that you want to make into a brush. Export as, we'll call this blocky. GBR, brushes, export. Blocky, spacing 1. And that should do it. There's our background. So again, let me grab the eraser. Get rid of this, and then we'll just do a stroke with that brush. Again, you go to my brush window here. Click update there. Look for blocky. There it is. Notice there it's way far away from me. It'd help if I selected the brushes too. All right, let's go back to our layers window. Let's bring this down. And size so we can see it. Shift, click over, and notice there Got to bring the spacing back together a little bit more. It looks like we've already done that, so that's good. Let's bring it back here a little bit. Okay, so that one we got to make a little smaller here. There we go, something like that. Let's bring it up just a little bit. Perfect. Okay, and there's Blocky. So now we have 6 brushes. We've saved them into our brush window. They should be named in here. I should be able to find them in here when I look. And you should have all of your brushes displayed, each on its own layer, a stroke going across in a straight line. And each of them should be named the same thing they are in this folder here, or in this area here. And that's basically what you're going to be turning in is this GIMP file, the .xcf file with all your brushes, each on its own layer, and all of them saved inside of here and named the same thing.